Hello, welcome back to Security Sunday number 7. And today I am going to discuss when, how, why should you do your backup security check? How do you verify the integrity that your backup is actually working, and that in a crisis situation that you can actually recover your seed phrase, bring it onto a new secondary hardware wallet, introduce it maybe wherever you need it to, and then be able to access your funds again. So the first question is obviously, why should you even bother? Why should you do it? And the very first reason is that some wallets don't even tell you to do a backup. Like, for example, MetaMask uh, doesn't really need you to do it, and a few others as well. So you get sometimes reminders, and some wallets don't even mention it. So where you can get into this situation where suddenly your hard drive is giving up, suddenly uh, your phone is giving up, uh, you you lose access to the laptop maybe completely. Like you have a laptop set up only for crypto, and then it gets stolen or whatever. So you just lose access completely, and then you are without a backup, without ever checking that you have a backup, you're completely losing access to all of your crypto. Uh, if you don't have a backup, you have a high chance of losing all your money, basically. Then, if you do have a backup, you might introduce some kind of error. We are humans, we make mistakes. And it's very easy to go from what your eyes see to the handwritten. So initially, you would have it on a piece of paper, probably. You have transcoding issues, especially if you do it just with numbers. Like you should do it with words and with numbers. And maybe if you even have an encryption, it gets even more complicated. But there are a lot of steps where you can introduce an error. So let's say, for example, you have a normal 24-word seed, and maybe two of the words are the same, or one word, you read it in the wrong order, and then suddenly what you have as a backup does not match the original seed phrase that is actually in your software wallet or in your hardware wallet. And then at the moment of crisis, when you do want to restore it and you depend on the backup, like your access is gone, then whatever you generate from these wrong seed phrase that you wrote up will not give you access to the original wallet, but it will give you access to a different wallet. So you want to double check that for like typos, any mistakes writing down, any mix-ups in order, and so on. And additionally, it also gives you a peace of mind that you know how to do the backup. So you go through the process, you see what it's like, you know what it looks like specifically, and you will be at ease when actually a crisis situation happens and you need to go through all the steps. So you won't do any mistakes, or you won't be like completely frantic about it. You will have a calm method, and you know what to do exactly when the crisis happens. And this is actually worth a lot. You basically, you won't have any stress when you restore it, and you won't always have to this Damocles sword above your head where you're, oh, I need to do this, and is this going to work out? Is this really safe? Is this can I access my funds whenever I need to? You won't have those kinds of questions above your head, but because you know, you will be confident in your ability to secure and restore your funds, your crypto, whatever it is. It will also protect you from hacks, or not hacks, but scams more specifically, because a lot of times you will find that scammers message you, especially on platforms like Telegram and on Twitter. You will get DMs, you will get maybe even email scams where they try to scare you. They want to reduce your confidence levels, and bring you into this fearful state where you're not in abundance anymore. You're fearful, you're frantic, um, you are emotional, and then your reaction prompts you to do something wrong. And most of the times, the scammers will ask you to introduce your seed phrase into some kind of like recovery or verification wallet, which is a scam. They are just asking for your seeds to introduce it into a fake recovery website. And then what you're doing is you're just giving away your crypto to the hacker, to the scammer. What it also helps with is to find out if you have multiple seed phrases and you have multiple wallets. It will give you the confidence to knowing which one which one is which, especially if you created maybe like multiple over the years, or if you did some test wallets and you kind of don't know which one is which. Then the verification and the check for the seed phrase will help you figure out which one is which. So whenever you do need to have access to your crypto, you immediately have all the access that you need. So how would you do that? First of all, it should be done alone in a closed room with a lot of time, and when nobody can interfere with you. You're like, don't do it in a cafe, don't do it at school, don't do it at work. Do it at home, close the windows, put your phone away, do not talk out, do not speak out loudly any of the words, and do not wave your paper in front of a camera, in front of the window, in front of friends, family members, whatever. Do it as securely as possible and diligently, in complete peace. This will give you more confidence as well. Then, let's go over software wallets first. And I'm going to say about that, you shouldn't be using a software wallet to begin with. If you set up your seed phrase on a software wallet like MetaMask or Rabi or Internet Money or GetRx, whatever your wallet is, it doesn't even matter. You should move away from that. So if you have a backup of that, that's nice and dandy, but you should move as fast as possible into a hardware wallet. Especially if you're working with like thousands of dollars plus, it is worthwhile to get a ledger or a Trezor they go for like 60 to 80 bucks now, especially if they're on discount. And if you have more than 2, 3, 4, 5,000, I would even say get the free pack, so you have redundancy in your wallets and you can have easier access to multiple seed phrases and so on. So you don't have to just click and restore always that one device. So on a software wallet, most of the times you do not even have a recovery check or a verification check. Some wallets do have it, and a few wallets ask you to do it during the account creation. But some of the times they don't even do a full check. So they will ask you, please enter word 3, word 5, word 6, but they don't do it for all 25 words. So what you want to do is, once you have your 24 or 12 seed words complete, you write them down initially on a piece of paper, and then you transfer them later into metal. But what you want to do is check verify the integrity of this initial piece of paper first. And you do this by either creating another instance of this wallet in a secondary browser profile. For example, Google Chrome allows you to create multiple profiles. And then you have one profile where you're actually working, one profile maybe only for crypto, and one profile you set up extra, and you do the verification check in the secondary profile. This way, you do not have to delete the original, especially if you already have funds on it. That would be a problem. Because if your backup for some reason is not working, and you do it on your primary software wallet to the verification check, so you like reset it or clear your browser, you uninstall the app and then install it again. In that case, your funds would be lost if your backup is actually the wrong one, or if you mix it up, if you have a type or whatever. So you do want to have it on a secondary instance of the browser if you have it. But again, I want to stress, you should never type your seed phrase into your keyboard. If you are only running a software wallet, move away from it as fast as possible. Get your funds onto a hardware wallet as soon as possible. You will increase your account security by a lot. So for hardware wallets, it's actually a little bit easier because most of the hardware wallets, like for example, the Trezor and the Ledger, they have the option to do a check while the seed phrase is still running on the device. And on the Ledger, actually, now let's start with Trezor, and I'm going to show what it looks like. I'm going to go on the Ledger website. I'm also going to drop it in the chat. And later I will also put it in the description. So you'll have the links below. Let's share that. Share screen. So this is what it looks like on the Trezor. Basically, you go to your wallet, you go to advanced in the top right, and then there is an option, check recovery seed. On the Trezor 1, because you do not have the display as for the big one, you will have to do it on the actual software that is on your PC. So it will guide you through the steps. It will tell you a few clicks and so on. For the Trezor Model T, because it has a display, you can do the verification and a few of the inputs on the device itself. So that one is actually more secure. If you're looking for more security, get the Trezor Model T. It's more advanced in that regard. And then for the Ledger, I'll open it up. For the Ledger, it's a little bit different. So on the Ledger, it's actually an extra app that you need to install and run. You find it in the normal dropdown where you have your Ledger, your Ledger Manager, and then once you have an overview of all the apps, one of them will be the Recovery Check app. And let me show you. Opala. Feedback. We don't want feedback. So here you see this is the Ledger Manager. Can I actually make this bigger? Probably not. Can I zoom in? No, it doesn't allow it. Stupid website. Okay. Anyway, so this is the manager, and then you see this is the app for the recovery check. Let's go back to back. So now, once you are in the recovery check for the Ledger or for the Trezor, it will prompt you with the number of the word, and you can then check on your list that you have written down, which of the words am I going to input, or which ones is it asking for. And Trezor, for example, randomizes it. And at the very end, after you have input all your 12, 24, however many words you have, it will tell you either, yes, check verified, the seed phrase that you entered is indeed correct, or it will give you an error message that it does not match. And then you can decide, hey, did I maybe do an input error while I was doing it? So you can even have like your backup actually might be correct, but you introduce an error. So I would, if you have an error and it says it's not the correct seed phrase, I would actually do it 2 or 3 times just to make sure that you didn't do a mistake during the check. But otherwise, you should, as soon as possible, redo a new seed phrase and move all your funds, if possible, onto that seed phrase. Now, there is an additional thing that is a little bit harder to check, and that is the passphrase on the ledger or the hidden wallet, it's called, on the Trezor. For that one, you cannot do the check on the verify on the check app, but you would need to do is you do your check of the normal seed, the 24 words, and you actually, oh, I forgot to say this. You actually need to log in on the ledger with the seed pin that is only the basic seed. So you cannot log in if you have set this up. You cannot log in with the passphrase pin that is stored on the device, because that one will trigger an error check when you do the comparison of the 24 seed words versus the 24 seed words plus the additional 25th word. So those will not match. So you have to always control the 24 versus the 24 words. So once you have done that, then you can go into the device itself. You introduce into the temporary passphrase your passphrase, whatever it is. Ideally, it's like something like 20 plus long, 20 plus characters. It has all the it has maybe major, minor spelling. Sorry, upper and lower case. I mean numbers, non-dictionary words, so that it's not possible to easily brute force it. Hey, Akademiki. Welcome to the stream. Thank you. All good. Yeah. Afternoon to you as well. And once you have introduced the passphrase, you're going to check if the first address that it generates, it's actually matching of what you had originally written down for your public address. So it's a little bit harder to check, but you need to check that the address is the same generating and that your funds are on the same address. Once you have verified that, you know, okay, my backup for the 24 seed words and for the passphrase is actually generating the same public key. That means I am secure, my backup is working, and I'm good on that. So the next one would be for paper and for metal wallets. So there are actually additional things that can go wrong when you go from what you see on the display, then you write it down on your piece of paper, and then you transfer that into the metal. So each time you go from one medium to the next, there is the possibility to introduce mistakes, typos, wrong numbers, and on top of that, if you have an additional encryption in your seed phrase. So for example, if you use a simple seed encryption, if you have a simple cipher encryption, if you have some kind of Shamir secret or whatever, there is the possibility that you wrote something down which is not correct. So when you have paper and metal and then the encryption, you need to check at every step if you have the correct seed phrase written down. Because when you do want to restore it and you make a mistake with the decryption of the key, it will actually generate a completely different seed phrase. It just needs to be like one digit wrong. If you wrote down 217 in your encryption instead of 216, and then you have a completely different word, you have a completely different sudden decryption suddenly on the way back, you are out of your money. You lose your crypto. If you do not have redundancy for your backup, your money is gone, right? So you need to check at every step of the way. And when you do the check itself, and you need to do some extra hard calculation for that encryption or decryption process, you can and you should write it down on a piece of paper, but then you need to make sure that you actually destroy that piece of paper after you have done the verification check. So, and I'm saying write it down on a piece of paper, be alone, all the good jazz, so that you can actually destroy the paper and burn it afterwards. Do not throw it into the trash. Do not do not let it lie around, especially unencrypted, because you can have an evil mate attack. Friends can come by. Maybe you have some kind of camera, maybe you're a streamer, and then it suddenly pops up on a piece of paper or whatever. You do not want the decrypted seed phrase lying around naked, and especially not for a long time, because the longer it is exposed, so to say, the higher the chances that the seed gets compromised, lost, and given out to someone. That reminds me of that guy who was just running around with this seed phrase in his wallet, in his like real life wallet. He had his money and his Bitcoin seed phrase actually in it, and he was stopped by the police. They they arrested him, and they were looking for his stuff, like, hey, what is he has? It's his wallet, his ID, and so on. And they're looking at it, and now it's public record, because he had his seed phrase, his like backup on paper, is being recorded by the cop's camera while he's being arrested. So you do not want that. You want the backup that is ideally safe, not open, and possibly encrypted, and you checked and verified that the seed backup is actually working and the integrity is top notch. Yeah, so I shared the two links. Yeah, I did that. So what do you do if your wallet doesn't have a recovery option? Some software wallets actually don't have that. In that case, you want to do through the creation of the wallet, or ideally you have actually a secondary wallet, secondary browser, whatever it is, and then you generate as if you create a new wallet. You introduce your seed phrase into the creation of the wallet, and then you compare the two public addresses that it generates, similar to how you do it with the passphrase. So if on the original wallet you have B75A, you want to do the restoration, you go through the steps, and then you want it to have the same exact, what did I say, B75A as the public address to show up. This way, you know, okay, my wallet, whatever it is generating the same public key. That means that my seed also had the same private key, because the private key always generates a specific public key. Yeah. So the last question then is, when should you do that? As soon as possible. And that is during the creation of the wallet. Like I said in the beginning, some wallets do not ask you to do this, but you should still do it, because this is the highest, it's actually one of the highest security threats to yourself. You are your biggest issue. You are fighting against yourself, and the less errors you do, the less mistakes you do, the better. So you want to create your wallet and then immediately do a backup. Have 2 backups in paper, and then as soon as possible you want to transfer the backups from the paper to metal, whatever it is, be it a seed plate, be it some kind of jig that you have, washers, whatever it is, but it needs to be in a medium that it cannot be destroyed. And then you check for the integrity of those. And then you should also do it at least once or maybe every 2 years, so that you are still confident in being able to restore the wallet. You know how to do it. You know that where and how the backup is actually intact, if it's still readable or not. And specifically also, if you do, you shouldn't be doing it, but if you have a digital backup on a USB key, you need to check the integrity because of bit rot and the charge of the little flash modules being discharged or not. So if you do not check every year or so for your backup, you might lose your backup, and which creates obviously a problem if your main wallet is disintegrated and you cannot export your keys anymore. I talked in my last stream about the USB backups and why you shouldn't do it. But if you do have it, please make sure that the integrity is actually working. Because if you have something like for 10 years or 15 years, your USB backup will fail, definitely. Especially if you store it for a long time in a cold place, it will just discharge. But even for metal and also for a paper wallet, you want to check periodically every year or two that it's still intact, so that it's not corroded too much, that it's not moldy, that it didn't get eaten up, that, I don't know, that a bird didn't steal it or build a nest on it and then it dissolves, the paper is dissolved, or that, I don't know, didn't get wet, didn't get burnt or whatever. So yeah, make sure that your integrity of the backup is good and healthy, because if something happens to your main wallet, if the ledger breaks, if the Trezor breaks, if your PC or laptop is stolen, if you have some kind of issue with it, you will be able confidently to restore your seed phrase, and you will have access to your money again. Yeah. Anybody got a question about it? Otherwise, I think I'm gonna stop it here. I hope it helped you, and yeah, check out my Etsy store if you want a really good backup. baumcrypto.etsy.com. You can get a complete set for free washer backups, including jig, the stamps, and the washers, including with the bolts and everything, or just the jig if you wanted to do it yourself. Got like multiple different ones. We got pools, we got normal ones, Hex, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, Shiba Inu, B9, and I'm even going to introduce XRP very soon. So thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. See you next week. Bye. Stay safe.